Got some breaking news to share with you now, and French police have been seen pepper spraying migrants as they attempt to board boats to cross the channel. Mark White is here with more. Mark, tell us about this story.
Well, maybe they're under instructions from the British government not to let any more migrants across, because we are just 1,000 away from passing the number of migrants, 36,800, who crossed during the whole of last year. What we're looking at now are images from Gravelines Beach, which is just near Dunkirk, and you can see the French police there on the beach with the migrants, and in short order they are using their pepper spray, as the French tend to do very liberally, spraying anybody in sight, with the intent clearly of trying to dissuade these migrants from reaching what are called taxi boats. So a taxi boat will come from a local river tributary, then will just sit offshore, 100 or so yards offshore in shallow water, and you can see, look, the migrant just running past the police. I don't know what, you know, furlong or you know, effort that was, but you can see that as far as the migrants are concerned, they are still wading out into the shallow water and then clambering aboard that boat. And we believe there's about 70 plus on board this boat, one of several that have come across the channel today. I've just been speaking to our producer Chris down in Kent, who monitors all of the migrant activity for us, and he said that so far 250 have arrived at Dover Harbour, and at least another 200 are out in the channel making their way across, and there may be more today because it's actually very good weather, flat calm conditions pretty much in the channel today and tomorrow. So I think it's likely that that figure of 36,800 will be passed, if not by tomorrow, certainly within the coming days.
Yeah. And Mark, there's been lots of focus on whether or not the French police are doing enough to stop migrants from boarding those boats. There's a lot of controversy about whether or not they're allowed to wade out into the water. The French policing unions don't want them to do that. They say it's too dangerous. But could this mark a renewed effort from the French gendarmes to prevent their crossings?
Have you had a random call lately from a strange number, maybe trying to sell you something or even scam you? If so, your info could be out there. That's because of data brokers, shady companies that scrape the internet for your personal details and sell them to marketers or even scammers. These days, scammers can even use AI to mimic your friends' voices and trick you into sending money. It's not just annoying. Data brokers often target vulnerable people with high interest loans or sketchy offers. But there is a solution. Incogni, the sponsor of this video. Incogni contacts data brokers on your behalf and requests your info be deleted from their databases. And because your data can keep popping up, Incogni keeps sending removal requests to make sure it stays gone. They've just launched a new unlimited plan with custom removals. If you find your info on a weird website, just send them the link and their privacy team will work to get it taken down. Getting started is easy. Hit the link in the description, create your account and let Incogni handle the rest. It's risk-free for 30 days and you'll get 60% off an annual plan with the code GBNews. Take back control of your data with Incogni.
Well, I don't know about a renewed effort. They do, as much as they can, try to stop migrants crossing. But the fact is, there's more than 70 miles of coastline, and to effectively police that entire stretch is just impossible. And you see there's no more than half a dozen police officers. How can half a dozen police officers deal with 70 odd migrants who are just running around them anyway, even when they get sprayed? And you're right about this policy of wading out into the water or trying to push the boats back. The French police unions fear that their leaders and the politicians won't have the backing of any individual police officer if that tactic actually goes wrong, and there is some kind of tragedy because of trying to push a boat back and perhaps someone drowns as a result. So that's why the police union are saying to their officers, don't start enacting that tactic. And that's a blow for the government, because the government for months has been talking about how important this pushback tactic will be. which any observer anyway watching what happens across the channel knows it doesn't make any odds. You can push a boat back. What are you doing? You're not stopping the boats, you're just delaying the boats, because they just go back to the migrant camp, they hook up with the people smuggler again, and they try again the next day.
Yeah, well, listen, thank you, Mark. We'll be keeping an eye on that really imposing number there. That higher than last year could be just days away.
Well, what's important about this as well, just very briefly, is we still 2.5 months of the year to run.
There you go.
So not only are we going to pass it, but very, very significantly pass it.
Thank you so much there, Home Security Editor there, Mark White. We'd like to bring in another guest here, Labour Councillor Stuart Force, joining us in the studio. Stuart, thank you very much for coming in today. We've seen that breaking footage there, of course, of French police getting tough, it seems, finally getting tough on the migrants. However, as Mark has said, we are close to that impending number there, that magic number that takes the migrant crisis is over what the last Tory government managed to get that record-breaking number there. Do you think Keir Starmer's in trouble on this issue?
I think he's in a really difficult situation here with his relationship with the manner in which how to tackle this, but also about understanding the causal effect of this in people's communities and how it forms their opinions. Because this is obviously quite emotive, what we've seen here today. I mean, as a former naval officer, I'm looking at it in a slightly different perspective. You know, you were talking about the police's tactics there on the beach, the fact that a lot of these things are not stopping these people trying again, you know, talking about considering things like maritime assets. The questions are raised about the RNLI having to then create life-saving measures. Of course, the question is, why does it get to that stage in the first place? But I think the difficult issue at the minute is the relationship with people's understanding of how this affects their communities. And of course, what we've seen is the measures that are needed to then house these migrants are often resultant within those communities across the UK.
I'm not sure that I'm sure that is a fact. Of course, people are not happy about the fact that undocumented migrants coming over, potentially staying in hotels, fears about crime, all those things are absolutely true. But isn't it a basic expectation that the number one job of government is to keep us safe and secure our borders? And we see footage of hundreds of migrants, already 250 landed just today. And there's this sense that the government, not just this government, previous government as well, is failing in its basic duty to secure our borders.
I actually really understand people's concern in this, because I think you're absolutely right. That is the first duty. And I think what we have here is a lack of understanding of people's interpretation of this issue in the first place. So currently, we're looking at a global population displacement rate hitherto unseen. And we've got different parties now stating their outlook on how to deal with this in a legislative sense. But I think there's a lot of confusion about the impact of that as well.